Can you guys hear me
Yep, we can hear you.
and see me?
Ed's on dry land tonight, not in a boat.
Yeah. I tried to do it from an airplane, but the signal went up and down.
How do you know that's not a boat?
Bad, huh?
Ed's on dry land tonight, not in a boat.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Found here yet? No, not. Somebody just pulled in though.
I think the village website is down.
Really?
It was up a minute ago. We logged Sue in.
Or maybe she broke it. Maybe she crashed it. Hey, Tom.
No, it's open. You know, it sounded like I was kidding before, but the West Dundee is blocking the village website from the Wi-Fi network.
Apparently,
I got it on my phone, but I can't get it on the computer using their Wi-Fi.
so we can't get into it here?
Well, I got the Zoom working because that's not blocked, but I can't get the, I gotta get the YouTube piece going. It's actually streaming on YouTube. We just can't, I can't get it on the page here.
Oh,
That seems very bizarre. Oh, Skylar put the SSL certs on. She tried to. I bet they're blocked. That would be why it doesn't work for me.
so what do we do?
I'll just get on the hotspot and use my other computer and. I mean, I'm used to arrow hosting this, so I'm always prepared. Be right back.
That's weird. Yeah. I'm not quite sure what SSLs would do with.
It's
anything.
that,
Security.
that secured something.
Tony, when I asked you last week about the pledge, I had no idea that lady had written that thing.
Yeah, apparently she, very, very patriotic. Are we muted?
I can be.
No, you're not muted. We can hear you.
But you can't see us.
Yeah, I can see you also.
Yep.
Hey, Ed,
Yep,
what part of the world were you on where the boat was?
on the Canadian border, northern Minnesota.
Oh, nice.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, chief.
There he is.
Good evening, Joe.
Good evening.
I love the background.
Well, thank you.
There he is.
Gotta get my headphones connected here. There we go.
Yeah, can't wait to get up there and sit on that deck with my almost 1-year-old granddaughter. So
Okay, you're unmuted.
All right, gentlemen, we are live. We're being recorded. Behave yourselves accordingly. According to the Open Meetings Act, the checklist, we do have a member of the public body physically present here at Village Hall. And I have determined that due to the coronavirus 19 pandemic, that it is not prudent to have an in-person meeting at this time. So, excuse me. I will determine that Anthony Perino, Stephen Diatley, Ed Harney, and Joe Nimick are attending via Zoom remotely. Chief Rivas is also attending remotely via Zoom. In the building with me is Trustee Merkel and the village clerk Miles. We do have a visitor in the audience, Jerry Kopax from 874 Winmore. Okay, we've got all that set aside. Let's start with the call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United
United
States
States
of
of America.
America, to the republic for which it stands, one
Stands.
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Prano,
Present.
Mr. Dattley,
Present.
Mr. Nimitz,
Here.
Mr. Harney,
Here.
Mr. Merkel,
Here.
Mr. Zamba. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
We've got a quorum, we've got a meeting, we move forward. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2020.
So move, Harney.
Second, Prano.
Moved by Harney, seconded by Moreno. Any corrections to the minutes of October 5th?
I just have one under my report, Public Buildings and Environmental. It says about the vandalism, including one on his property. There was actually two on my property, so I don't want anybody to accuse you of fake news, so
Okay.
straighten that one out. So that was a little tongue in cheek, so.
Okay. All right, there being no other corrections to the minutes, roll call, please.
Mr. Prano,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Okay, the minutes are approved. We'll move on to the president's report. Actually, I've got 2 items there, the update of the coronavirus relief fund and the resolution 528, which basically go hand in hand. At last week's county board meeting, the county board approved the application that we submitted it's been about 5-6 weeks ago, requesting some $190,000 in change in the CARE Act funds. That application has been accepted, and on our docket for this evening is Resolution 528, which is intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Sleepy Hollow and Kane County in regards to the utilization of these funds. Basically, it is a harmless. There we go. Agreement between us and the county. If upon an audit, it is found that the Village of Sleepy Hollow has misused the funds, we will have to return said funds. So that's basically the hold harmless that is in the IGA that we have received. Are there any questions concerning the CARE Act funds? If not, could I have a motion to approve Resolution 528?
So moved.
Second, Diatley.
Moved by Merkel, seconded by Diatley to approve Resolution 528, approving the IGA for the Corona Relief Fund. Any further comments, questions, or discussion?
I don't know if there was something in there, Steve, but do we get this in one lump sum, or is it paid over a period of time, or, you know?
They haven't said how it's going to be paid out. I do know that we have to submit the expenses, the invoices for the equipment we will have, and we won't have that until we buy it.
Okay.
So that 30,000. However, the other 160,000, and we've already submitted the payrolls for that. You know, I don't know if they're going to need anything else at this point or not.
It'll probably be this calendar year, you think?
It should be before the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. There being any other questions? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Prano.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Thank you, gentlemen. That is it for the president's report, clerk's report.
I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Tony. Planning and zoning, we have no report. They do have a meeting though scheduled for Wednesday, the 21st. Okay, attorney's report. There's no attorney's report this evening. Engineer's report, he did provide an update in the packet Basically, road construction started this morning, gentlemen. If you drive the lower part of the village, Thoroughbred or Winmore, be careful. There is fresh oil.
I was there today.
Okay, any questions for the engineer or his update? If not, move to finance and approval of the accounts payable for October 19, 2020.
So moved, Diatley.
Second, Nemec.
Moved by Diatley, seconded by Nemec to approve the accounts payable of October 19, 2020 in the amount of $135,697.97. Any additions, deletions, comments, or questions, gentlemen? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel.
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Diatley.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. The motion so passes. Okay. Next item on the agenda, public comments. We've got one comment for the evening. It's from resident Paul Setz. And he states, I am deeply concerned that the village is not enforcing the ordinance that addresses, among other things, temporary, quote, temporary election campaign signs, unquote. Specifically, ordinance 8-3A-3, section B2 states that, quote, displaying only on private property with the express permission of the owner or owners thereof, and excluding utility poles and public property of any sort, such as street signs and road or street right-of-ways, temporary election signs, each not more than 3 square feet in area. The advertised candidate or candidates shall be fully and directly responsible for complying with the requirements hereof, unquote. There are 2 signs that are obviously in violation of this ordinance in the village. One sign is located at 1300 Acorn Drive, and the other at the home of a village trustee at 70 Thoroughbred Lane. The sign on Acorn Drive has been up several months, and the sign on Thoroughbred Lane is more recent. I urge the village to enforce the ordinance not only because it is the right thing to do, but because there are many candidates for elected office and candidates that are adhering to the ordinance and are, at a minimum, dismayed at the village's lack of enforcement and holding the candidate fully and directly responsible. It is particularly disturbing that a village trustee so flagrantly violates a village ordinance, and it is my suggestion that that trustee in question immediately resign his position.
What is this gentleman's name?
Paul Setze,
What is it, Paul?
Setze,
How do you spell that?
S-E-T-Z-E,
S-E-T-E-Z?
correct.
And where does he live?
It's on Crane Drive.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for public comments, trustee reports, roads and parks. Mr. Harney.
I met with Kyle today and he'd like me to give a status report on just a few things in case residents would inquire. The road signs, he's getting ready to order the next batch of road signs that he wanted to talk to Brian as to where the funding, where that wants to come out of. He'll work that out with Brian, but that's in the works. The wooden barricade posts are being replaced in the village. 45 to 50 of them have been replaced. That's an ongoing procedure with him, and that's about 35% of the posts. I had no idea we had approximately 150 barricade posts in the village, but a third of them have been replaced, and he'll continue to replace the others. Let's see, the defaced park sign in Sabatino Park, that could not be cleaned, and it has to be replaced. It has been ordered, is due in any time. As soon as it shows up, we'll put it up again at Sabatino Park. One other thing, he hasn't gotten a salt quote yet, but he expects that in the next couple weeks. And I'll present that to the board. Hopefully it's cheaper than last year. That's it.
Okay,
Hey, Ed, I do have one question about that sign, and Chief Rivas kind of responds to you too, is that we have these signs as you enter the village that says no parking on any village streets, which is our enforcement. We have a couple of spots now where we have ordinances that allow parking. I wonder, as we replace those signs in the park as opposed to no parking this side, if we should do this, be consistent and change them to parking allowed this side between signs or parking. We've done that in the 2 other spots that we've by ordinance allowed parking in the village. So I'm not saying we should replace them all, but as we replace those signs, would that be more appropriate, Chief Rivas, to do it that way? Be easier to enforce?
I believe so. You have to give notice, obviously, of any kind of signage when you do any kind of parking enforcement. So whatever the board feels is appropriate, we will carry it out.
So to me, it's always been kind of confusing. I've had several people ask me about that. It's like, well, there's no parking anywhere. And we have these signs up in the park that say no parking this side, but that's by ordinance. And the other side, we do allow parking. So I just wonder if we should, as we replace those signs, change the signage to parking allowed this side.
We can discuss it with Kyle to order new signs along those lines, as long as they're obviously keeping fiscally, they're not that expensive.
Right. And I think that's what we did up in, I don't have the map in front of me, up by the bird sanctuary where we allowed parking. I think that's where we put signs that say, parking between signs or something.
I'll talk to Kyle about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Joe,
Yeah.
just for clarification, you're asking the signs right now, you're talking about in the gravel lot that's at Sabatino?
No, along Sabatino Park, along Thoroughbred, and I think on Winmore, there's a couple
Winmore.
signs that say no parking this side.
Along the road itself.
Along the road itself. And, I just looked at the map. On Danielle Court, we put up signs where we allowed parking by ordinance, and we say parking allowed this side or between signs, or I don't know what the exact verbiage is there.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what actually, I think with the ordinance, I would refer, I don't have it in front of me because I didn't even think about this till you mentioned that, but I think that the ordinance specifies the areas where we allow parking and street parking. So,
We'll take it up with Kyle and the chief.
okay.
Okay.
Sorry for doing that. It just, when you said that, it just kind of reminded me of
that's
that.
fine. Yeah.
So, okay.
okay, anything else, Ed?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Finance. Mr. Ziemba is not with us this evening, but in your package, you will find the detailed fiscal year 2022 or 2021 budget along with the proposed 5-year cap. Ed, I did get your message in regards to that. It was something Kyle and I just overlooked the other day, and it can be removed. But that's why it's out there for you this evening to take a look at the 5-year cap. You will notice that immediately after this year, it goes into the red. There's a little graph there on the last page of the 5-year cap that will show you what is happening to our savings in the next year. There are a few things that can be resolved. For one, as I said, Ed noticed that we had, what was it, about 115,000 there, Ed?
Well, 105,000 for Saddle Club Park playground equipment. Yeah. And then,
Okay, right. For example, that one, we can take that out. We don't have the funds. It's not going to happen. There's a couple of others in here. So where is that? I know if you look under police, we've got where to go? Gee. We've got about $75,000 scheduled for the Starcom radios, which is a project that's been underway for, geez, a number of years. It is finally coming around and is going live, Chief, sometime this fall, early spring. Starcom.
They're anticipating as soon as the winter's starting, that's when we're going to be getting started. We're going to be doing the train the trainer on the radio system very shortly.
Okay. So anyway, this is an expense that's coming at us. It's roughly $75,000. We've got it in the 5-year cap for this next year to expend $75,000. However, the Quadcom has talked with Motorola. Motorola is willing to do a 7-year finance on this project so that we could get out of coming up with $75,000 tomorrow and kick this can down the road for the next 7 years by backing it off a bit. That's a decision that you as a board is going to have to make. Chief, you have, what was the payments on that, the 7-year? It was like half down and then 7,000 for 7 years?
Right, it's definitely a 7-year lease. I think as a 2.3% was the finance rate, but I think what you said was correct. The half down.
So taking a look at that, we could reduce the 5-year cap for the police department for next year by roughly $37,000 and then move the remaining balance into 2022, 23, 24, 25, and wrap it up in what, 27 or 28? Is that something that the board would be interested in considering? Or do you want us to stick with our standard plan of pay in cash and move forward?
I would say it makes sense at 2.3%. It's not going to cost us that much money. And if we can maneuver down and move it down the road a little bit, and maybe we can find some other funds as we go along. But I don't think 2.3% is too bad on that remaining balance.
Okay, is that the general consensus?
I would agree. I mean, we have to do something there.
Yeah. I do not object either.
Yeah, I would agree with what Steve's saying. I know that we still have to pay it, but perhaps giving us a little breathing room, and pushing it out may help another area to come, to allow us to get some other more liquid funds.
Okay, so Starcom payment, we will do a 7-year lease with them on that then, instead of the one-time payment of $74,000 and change. Okay, that, let's see, we knock out.
I have a question.
Back up, the administrative department has $7,000 for next year for a new printer. You want to leave that in there since we're going to third millennium for utility billing? We don't really need that $7,000 printer. We could probably drop that back to 3,500 or so.
We even need a new printer since, I thought the goal of getting the high quality copier, scanner, printer was just to use that for all office functions, to consolidate all the printing functions into that. Do we even need a new printer at this time since funds are so tight?
Well, we can ask.
That would be especially from the water department, I think.
Okay, unless this is the big copier in the break room. I think it's the laser copier in the water department.
Yeah, as I said, I don't see why everybody, with the number of employees we have and why that was my understanding when we leased that or bought that several years ago, that was going to be the universal printer for all the office staff, so.
Okay. Well, we can check in on that one then. Okay,
I have a question, two questions actually.
okay,
When you look at fiscal year 2022, sale of assets, that's a high number, 46,000. What's that project? What's the projection of where those funds would come from?
you're looking at sale of assets.
In 2022.
On what page?
What
It's on
page?
the 5-year cap improvement fund, the
Yeah, but
page with,
we've got administrative, police, village property.
right, and you have the revenue, there is sale of assets in the revenues column of 46,000, and then it's the same in expenditures under the police department, 46,000. I'm just asking, what's the sale of assets projected in 2022 that would generate $46,000?
I see squads purchased for $46,000, Anthony.
Okay,
I don't see sale of assets for $46,000.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the recap page.
He's
That
looking
is-
at page 49 of 134.
Page
Thank
49.
you, Steve. Yeah, I just found it now. It is 49. So on page 49, it's
Okay.
the,
Sale of assets. 2022, yeah, there is 46,000. They had put in for that. But, okay. All right, let's see, we did, administration, we've done police. Parks,
is the 120,000 for the Sabatino equipment then?
No, that was 15,000 for Sabatino equipment.
okay.
So, go ahead.
Okay,
You know what? I might have read that wrong.
I was
It's hard
gonna
to-
say, Ed, that 15,000 is the zero-turn lawnmower.
Right, as I go
that
across
Public
there,
Works is looking at for next year.
right, my error, okay.
Okay, and then 105 is for Saddle Club next year or 2 years down the road also. This year, under parks, we've got $8,500 for a water fountain.
Well,
And
we need the water fountain is failing and we need a water fountain down there for health code, do we not, for any service club related food events?
yes, we do. So suggest we leave the drinking fountain there. Moving on to village property. If you recall, 3 years ago, we started the drainage project. We said we'd spend approximately $30,000 doing $75,000 a year. We did 75,000 in 20. We did or $77,000 last year. Do we go with 75 or we drop that back to 25 or 0?
Well, I believe for what we verbally have promised people, we've promised the people on between Hillcrest and Rainbow, that area of village property, that we promised them that that would be in this year, that we would be fixing that. So we either need to fund that or tell those people why it's being pushed back. And what else do we have in the phase for this year that was for swale work this year? Do you remember, Steve? I don't have it in front of me.
That, I mean, Willow and Thoroughbred and Locust?
No, the area behind Hillcrest. It's, I think on the map, it's listed as either Rainbow Park Greenway or Hillcrest Parkway. That
Oh,
whole, that
the
swath
Hillcrest?
of village property that's
Yeah,
kind of north of Hillcrest, south of Rainbow, going up toward Sycamore, that whole area in there, that we had the same issue back there that the people behind Willow were having, where the village
Yeah.
property is so wet and flooding that they were going to put a drain from there to drain that property.
consensus is stay 75, or we modify that?
We've got to modify it. We don't have it.
We could probably cut that in half and still, or in a third, and still get some work done this year and get some swales cleaned up. Could we not? Does that seem reasonable, Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we need to cut it definitely. Because like I said, we don't have it. We have to do something.
We take it to 25, or do we take it to 33%?
I would take it to 25.
25.
Tom recommends 25,000.
I would be good with that.
Me
I'm good
too.
with that.
Me too.
Okay.
Yes.
That's actually is 33%, Steve, so more or less within
Okay,
dollars.
well, I was
So-
like 25,000, okay. That's right, you're right.
So,
Okay, entrance signs, I don't know whether we need anything there or not. Village Hall roof, we're gonna need to look at. The Public Works Salt Dome roof. We've got a bit of an issue with that one. It's gonna be about $26,000 to $30,000 to roof that dome. Because we have to follow the prevailing wage requirements imposed upon us by the state. If we were to just do it locally with the local roofer, we'd probably be around $6,000. We've kicked this thing down the road for a couple of years. We leave it in or we kick it again?
What kind of shape is it in?
Bad. Not yet.
I would not have a problem with kicking it forward again. And I know there were some other things involved, but as you drive around, or especially take the train downtown, you see that most other government entities are replacing these salt domes like that with other types of structures, that maybe it's time to look to see if that's a better investment before we spend money on a roof.
Is there any issue that the salt that's in there gets contaminated if the roof were to fail?
Oh, yeah. Big time. The roof fails, the salt is gonna be contaminated and washed out.
So, yeah, so I think that because that impacts how we maintain our roads in the wintertime, I don't believe we can push that out. I understand it's an expense that we have been pushing out, but I think we have to say spending money that makes a positive impact on something else, as opposed to not spending money, which would make a negative impact, and we'd lose that much more in bad salt, for example.
I know we've been pushing this out. How bad a shape is this roof in? I mean, I haven't been in there myself personally, so I don't know.
That would be my question is the substructure, is there evidence of damage to the substructure?
Not damage to the substructure yet, but it's very close.
Okay,
Shingles have just about deteriorated.
Okay.
Joe, what kind of buildings were you talking about, alternative buildings? And might they be in the $26,000 range?
I don't know how big they would need and where we would put it, and there were some issues with a pad or otherwise, but it bears some looking into that. I know Kyle has always said that structure is the design is not very efficient for the storage of salt and getting the backhoe in and out of there. So I would like at least to look into that and investigate and see what the cost benefit analysis are both, just to see if we could get something in there.
Well,
Ed, that's your
we'll leave
department. What do you thought? You know what I'm
26K in
talking-
there then as a place mark for the time being.
Yeah, some of those structures, I'm a little bit familiar with that, Joe. Some of them are made out of tubing, and then they have a synthetic fabric that goes over them, that is stretched over them, and it's water repellent, and it goes down. But I have no idea on what that cost would be.
No, and my understanding is we kind of talked about, Kyle, a little bit, that part of the problem may be the pad or concrete that would go underneath it. So I mean, that may be what makes it cost prohibitive, but I do know that he's always complained about the design of that, and the size of it, that it's just not the most efficient building to get salt in and out of, so.
Right.
Okay, well, let's leave it for the time being as a bookmark, if nothing else. Streets and highways. We've got 300,000 in there for resurfacing of Sleepy Hollow Road, which I understand the approval is expected this month on that, and it should be able to go to construction next year. So we're going to need the funds there.
Right.
Your sign implementation, Ed, there's 11,500 in there for that.
Yep.
And then we've got the 135,000 that we put in there for this year's street program. So not much we can change there on that one. Moving into vehicles. We've actually got a dump truck scheduled to be replaced this year, as well as a dump truck next year. 100,000 for the small one and 118,000 for the big one. And we've got one that we ordered last year that we haven't received yet. So back to the 450. You want to leave that one in there or put that one off to another year? It will run us about $20,000 to rehab that thing to go for another couple of years.
And so I said, we put so much money into keeping these old vehicles around. It just seems like we're tossing bad money after good sometimes, that if we need it, we need it.
I know the 450 is up for some repairs.
I tell you, it's just such an expensive. They're just expensive vehicles, and I understand, Joe, what you're saying, but that there would be big savings if we could reduce that expenditure down to just making some repairs to those vehicles until hopefully, God willing, something improves the next fiscal year. But I can't agree that we would spend that kind of money in that truck. And regarding the one that we ordered that we never got, is that something we've already paid for? We haven't gotten it? Can we cancel it? Can we, if we haven't gotten it, they're still using something that's helping them, but I don't know how long do we keep it on there that we didn't get the equipment.
I don't know the answer to that one, Anthony. I know about a month ago, they informed us that they had moved it to Monroe, Wisconsin for fitting of the box to the frame. I'm not sure we have the ability to cancel this. It was a state program that we bought into. We can look into that.
Well, is it possible that that new one, the international dump truck, would be able to take the place of the 2006 dump truck that we have 118,800 in 2022 and just, spends a small amount of money if it needs to be fixed, but not to budget to buy a new one.
I think the individual that can answer our questions here just happens to be with us, doesn't happen to be with us tonight.
Right.
Does time permit getting input from Public Works on this? They're the only ones that can really answer many of these questions.
Well, somebody came up with a figure on the 2002 of 20,000 to rehab it and keep it going for a couple of years. So I'm kind of in agreement with Anthony on that. I think until the tide turns with this COVID or whatever, I'd be $80,000 difference right there. And if we can get a couple more years out of it for 20,000. I'm sure Kyle and his helper would rather be driving newer trucks like we all would, but if it's functioning properly, if we lay out 20,000, I think that's the way to go.
I'll, kind of agree with Ed with this. Do we have to decide on this tonight, Steve, or can we have the discussion next meeting and get the
Well, we
lowdown
can
from?
have a discussion next meeting. We're just kicking the budget down the road again another 2 weeks, guys.
I don't feel like I can make an intelligent decision on this without getting input from the people that are using them and the actual condition of these vehicles.
Okay,
I understand that. I understand that point. At the same time, if Kyle comes to us and says, I absolutely need it, and we know we can't afford it, we're going to say no anyway.
Yeah.
yep.
So, just to President Pickett's point, we keep pushing the budget back and keep pushing it out. I would say we make the decision now that we just cannot afford it. We're not lying. We're facing some real tough facts.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Anthony, and I understand what Joe's saying. I see both sides, but I would probably agree that we should try to put the money in it and fix it and try to put this new purchase off as well.
I could go along with that. We have been kicking the budget down the road.
Right.
I'd like to see some finality here too.
Okay, so consensus is that we move the purchase of a 450 off another year
Yes.
Yeah.
and maybe look at some money for repair instead of replacement at the moment. Okay. The next item he's got is a pressure washer for $4,000.
No, you can rent them at Home Depot.
I think that might be a conflict of interest, Anthony.
I don't work there anymore.
Oh, okay.
He'll
I'm
send you the
officially
card.
retired.
Okay.
For the record.
Is it 4,000 pressure? Is this something? I mean, I have one that's like $400 or
This is a
$500.
heated one.
Yeah. I believe it's what they use. Ed, do you know what the condition of the current one is? Because I believe it's what they use for cleaning the salt and on the trucks, which is one of the things that helps them last longer. I believe they also use them on the sewer tanks and otherwise. So we should.
Yeah, these are big washers, but I do not know the condition.
Yes. Once again, without that input, I don't know that I can make an informed decision to one way or the other on this.
4K, you can leave it float. It's not a lot, just, snow plows, 6,500. I'm not touching that one. I'm leaving it.
Yeah, we have to leave that.
Yeah.
Okay, we made some reduction in it. We might be able to move it off a little bit. I will take these changes back to the finance guy and have them inserted, and we'll bring this back again to next meeting.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
And Steve, can you also ask Kyle for his, to be
Sure.
prepared to talk about the condition of all the trucks and what can we expect and what it's gonna cost and what issues we have, just so we can make an informed decision and vote on that?
I can take that.
Okay.
Okay, you gonna follow up with that, Ed?
Yeah, I'll follow up with Kyle. He'll be ready to go with it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe that's it for the 5-year cap. Water and sewer, Joe?
We had another water main break at the corner of Hillcrest and Thoroughbred. I got to personally see the condition of the pipes. After talking to Jeff Steele and Kyle, the Winmore, Walnut, Hillcrest, Thoroughbred, and Locust water mains is something we, as Steve always says, we've been kicking that can down the road for over 2 decades now. So we just need to come up with a plan, figure out where we're going to come up with the money, and come up with a plan, whether it be 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, of getting these water mains replaced. On the one on break that they had last week, they also, one of the old valves was broken. So that is a reoccurring problem on some of these 50-year-old water mains with used water pipes. So Jeff Steele will, at the next meeting, kind of give us an idea of what the engineering would cost and what the project cost would be. And then we can give it to the finance committee to see how we pay for it.
Okay. Is that it, Joe?
That's all I have. Yes, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Police and public safety, Steve.
Just a couple things to note in your packet that the chief included is the year-to-date current activity report is in there for your review. And then also is a copy of the accommodation for Jalen Walker. Just want to bring that to everyone's attention and thank him for his service and his work, and to chief as well, and for all our officers for the work they do to keep our village safe. You know, it's a much better place to have great officers and dedicated people that help us out. That's all.
Okay. All right, thank you, Steve. Building environment, Tom?
No report.
Thank you, Tom. Building and zoning, Anthony.
Just a follow-up to the comment, the public comment earlier this evening. Chief, if I could just address something with you. I believe that the code enforcer, Mr. Fleck, has taken some action on that one particular sign. Is there any update that you can share with us on that?
If you're referring to the sign that's on Acorn, there was some resolution. He worked it out with the homeowner. By ordinance, as you said, it was 3 square feet, and the person basically bifurcated or trifurcated the sign and split up into 3 different individual signs.
Okay, so basically, you know, and as you all recall, I brought something up some months ago about signs in general. And unfortunately, you know, in this time, and hopefully ends very soon, you know, we can all move forward as a community, but we are looking at all of these things, and it's important that you know, everyone, you know, it's important that the entire village realizes what's happening, not only here in Sleepy Hollow, Illinois, but throughout the whole United States of America. And I just making a comment that, you know, we just need to have some patience, I guess, is the best word. I have nothing further.
You know, thank you, Anthony. Old business. We've got the review of the Millennium, or the, miscellaneous village fees.
So I can make a first comment. In the packet, I have one sheet in there that was added by the village clerk. My recommendations are the ones that were typed in red font, if you will. And I believe it's actually it's on page 94. And this was just my attempt to look at miscellaneous fees that I had some knowledge of, and presented a proposed new fee increase effective the 1st of January 2021. In that document, and I know there were two other handwritten increase proposals, but I just wanted to comment to the one that I had ownership of, which is the one with the red numbers. I did add on there under solicitors that there's a business regulation soliciting without a Village of Sleepy Hollow solicitor's permit. And then the second one, soliciting in violation of Village of Sleepy Hollow regulations. And you'll notice that I've increased those. Again, this was just my attempt on areas that I had some knowledge of to recommend some increases. We know that there was a period of time earlier in the spring and summer where we still get the people walking around. Some people have received village permits for soliciting, but we still have others that have not. If there's a business out there that wants to come through and they do not want to pay, then they have other ways that they can contact residents. But I think by having a higher fee, a higher penalty will help reduce the people who come around without a permit. So just as a summary, that was my page of my recommendations in the areas that I had some knowledge of.
And I believe
my comment for that. Thank you.
Thank you. On page 91, the one that's dated 10/5/2020, I believe that, well, I shouldn't say it, that those are the penciled in numbers there are the numbers that Wendy was kind enough to pencil in and send to the clerk that were the current fees we are charging. So the one that says Village of Sleepy Hollow fee schedule draft is actually the ones penciled in there are our current fees. And that was one of the reasons Mark had said that we need to look into this because this should be done once a year. So that's all I have to say. The only reason that this came up is that when I talked to Mark about where we put in the data log fee, he suggested that it goes into this schedule of fees that should be updated every year and hadn't been updated in 3 or 4 years. So that is all I have.
Data log fee, Joe, what's?
Yeah, and that's already in there. So we had passed that a while ago, but it was not, it doesn't get codified. It just goes into the schedule of fees because it just is listed in the village code as other fees occasionally may be charged. So Mark added that to our schedule of fees and then said we need to look at them because they conflicted with what the village had passed and codified. So the two are not, so what the code said and what the fee schedule said were two different things. So is that clear then, or?
Well, I never, when I submitted my document, I was just going on.
No, I'm not
I was just
faulting you,
going
Anthony. I'm just
off
saying, yeah,
of,
that was that, as I said,
probably
that's why
that
Mark.
draft document, because I think.
Right, and that, as I said, that was part of the problem. Mark had said that we have not done this for several years, and I believe, Steve, in the future, this is going to come up under the budget process. And so every year we pass this fee schedule as part of the budget process.
Can be done.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Joe, is this pencil one is the one that's the current fees now.
That's the current
Correct.
fees.
Okay.
That was my understanding. That at least that's what Wendy is under the impression from going through the village code and what she has as the current fees for everything.
So of those current fees, is there any that we need to change?
Do we need, for clarification, do we need to put the current fees out and then run that back again with suggestions so we're all on the same page? Because it's kind of
I was gonna
awkward to
say,
go
I
back and
think,
forth.
I would think so, because right now I've got 3 lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, Anthony, I'll leave this to you. This goes way back. We started charging, I believe, $10 for trailers, now 15. Because Mr. Fleck had asked for that so that he had the ability to, if he saw a oversized boat on a driveway, he has no ability to go on property, look at it. He could not, he said it was unenforceable. He said that if we charged for trailers, that we could get the village sticker for the trailer. And then the person would have to say, I have a boat trailer. And then you'd have to say what's on that trailer. It'd say a 60-foot, whatever, Chris Craft. And then we'd say, well, you can't have that, so we're not issuing you a sticker. Or if he went to somebody's driveway and saw an obviously oversized boat, he could cite him for lack of sticker and then get the boat removed. So
I completely agree with that idea.
So-
And in my proposal, the $15, even though that might be current, I have it as $15 as well. But
yeah,
if we get a new sheet and we look at it again, that's fine.
Right.
yeah, and but and we need to move that process along because I don't think the current form for stickers actually has any of that information on it. And that, there's been some disconnect between the forms and the board and Jeff Fleck and the fees and all that. So we just need to, get that done. So. Because it's also kind of, because I know I had a resident one time who dutifully paid her sticker fee for an illegal trailer that she keeps in her garage, which is legal. It's like, why am I paying when I can't have the trailer outside and I keep it in my garage? What's the point of this? So we have some need to neaten that up a little bit for the trailer stickers.
Okay, so we will come up with a clean copy of the current fees that we have now and send that out, review that one more time. Okay?
Thank you.
And just while we're on it, Anthony, I agree with everything you said about those fees, and I would have no issue with changing the fees as you suggested.
In some cases, though, Anthony was going down.
Well, the ones he talked about, though, some of them, going up. So.
Yeah.
The only comment I have is, I don't want to nickel and dime the residents either at this time when things are kind of rough, okay? And, we're talking a little while ago about buying a new truck for 100,000 as opposed to repairing it for 20,000. If we're gonna hit the people up, then we really, and we typically are, and we need to be frugal with our spending, I think, so.
Okay. All right, let's see, that was on old business. We will do that again next meeting. The third millennium proposal has been received and the attorney is reviewing that. 874 Winmore. We've got 874 Winmore under old business, and I will be honest with you, the engineer and I did not get anything together until late last week after the packet had already gone out. But I will tell you that his estimate on just the swale work was approximately $27,000. So he does say that there are less expensive options. But as I said, this was a late Friday that we were able to get things together. And that was his comment at that point. So I know Mr. Lopez is here again this evening. We don't have Mr. Hines with us. We don't have Mr. Killinger with us. What is your desire, gentlemen? You want to take this issue on or do we put this on the agenda for the 2nd of November.
I have just a comment. I feel bad, Mr. Kopaz, you know, as we were talking earlier about kicking it down the road here, this has been kicked down. He shows up and he's patient and he's nice and everything. But what I really need for me to make a decision is I don't have the ability to do it myself, to know myself. I need the engineer or someone to tell us that this is our responsibility. Okay? And I think, and I brought that up to Mr. Schuster last time, that if it is our responsibility, if it's something that we did or wrong or that we neglected to do, perhaps we could get our insurance carrier involved in that. But that would be if somebody can tell me that we're responsible for what's going on. So,
If I could add something,
pardon me?
if I could add a comment?
Sure.
Okay. Seeing that all of the damage of that swale and culverts are all on village property, number one. Number two, that the problem has been going on for decades and nothing has been done to correct any corrective actions to prevent this from happening time and time and time again. Okay, so I'd like that to be taken under consideration as well. And to the fact that probably different than most people that would come here, I came here with a cost sharing proposal that I was willing to pay for the pipes that go through these culverts. And I don't think it's unreasonable under this situation on this property for me to ask that the rest of the balance of it be taken care of by the village and something be done for corrective measures to prevent this from happening again. Now, I see that you have some ideas of replacing water mains up and down Winmore too. And I think a lot of the problem also comes from water racing down the hill. So I'm not a civil engineer. I don't know what can be done or whatever, but there's got to be something to prevent this from continually happening for what has been going on for decades. Okay. All right. I also have an estimate from a landscaping company that we talked about at the last meeting on what it would cost to do this problem here on both sides without the blacktop cost. Okay. I'll present that to you. It's only what takes place below this line because I had an estimate for some backyard work above this line.
Okay.
So it's just this.
All right.
This in here.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's basically, you know, what I'm asking for is for the problem to be corrected so it doesn't happen time and time again. And with the understanding that I know, okay, I'd have to replace those pipes somewhere down the road. Let's replace them now. I'm willing to pay for that. Okay, but the balance of it should lie with the village. Okay. In the meantime, I would also like to ask for the village to put up some safety cones or something there before someone gets hurt or a car jumps into that hole that's being taken. I put up my own caution tape across there, but I think something should be put there a little more substantial than what I have. Okay? And if anyone has any other questions for me? No. Okay. Thanks very much for your consideration.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other old business to come before the board? Okay, there being no other old business, we go to new business. New business. We have a discrepancy between a union agreement and a non-union individual. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you see in your packet, I included a memo, which is discussing an issue where we have a longevity that's per the collective bargaining agreement in Article 13 of the agreement, where at 15 years, an employee could receive $1,500. We only have one employee that qualifies for that, and that's Officer Jerry Nordan under the collective bargaining agreement. We also have a supervisor who has 24 years of service, and that being Sergeant Wilson, and she also qualifies for that, but has not yet ever received longevity. And invoking any kind of Me Too clause, she should enjoy that same benefit as a collective bargaining member. So short and sweet, what I'm asking, and just to make you aware that she should also be receiving $1,500 as a longevity bonus that would be added to her annual base rate of pay. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
We need a motion on that, or?
Yes, we do.
I'd like to make
Go ahead, Steve.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the $1,500 expense for the longevity bonus to be granted to Sergeant Wilson, and moving forward.
Second.
Moved and seconded to provide Sergeant Wilson with the longevity bonus as agreed to with the union contract. Any further comments, questions, or discussion?
That would be just this year. We're not going to go back. We're not going to give her any pay retroactively, are we? Or
No, the motion was just for this year.
okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, no further comments, questions, or discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Hardy.
Aye.
Mr. Merkel.
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Braden,
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes.
Can I make, since we're on the police, can I make a comment that I meant to make earlier, but
Sure.
with this Officer Jalen Walker, this commendation, it's wonderful that he got a gun off the street, a loaded 9mm. And I just want to make the comment because we used to have, we had a village president years ago that used to kind of belittle our police. We're just a sleepy little village. And I always said to them, you don't know what you're walking up to anytime you come up to a car, especially on Sleepy Hollow Road as people are traveling through. I don't know if this happened on Sleepy Hollow Road or where it happened, but our police officers face great dangers every day. They do a great job, and we have the commendation for Officer Walker, and I thank him. He's one of our newer hires, and all of our police officers for all they do for us.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, any other new business to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn?
Second, Diatley.
I never first one to say that.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry. I miswrote who was going to be here. For once I got thrown off cycle. Anyway, Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Hardy,
Aye.
Mr. Merkel,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Braden.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. We will see you on the 2nd of November. Same time, same place. Stay safe.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good night, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, Jay. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, you got to keep coming back and forth.
No problem. No problem. I've been there for a long time now. Not a big deal.
Actually showing up.
Good night, Steve. I'd written down Nimick.
Oh,
Was the guy that was gonna make the motion.